Hello everyone, and welcome to this tips and tricks video for my time at Portia. I hope to be able to show you a lot of different interesting things about this game, so here we go. One of the things I'm asked a lot about in this game is, how do you make gulls? Money is so hard to come by sometimes. Commissions are great, but isn't there another way? As a matter of fact, there are several ways, and this video is going to show you how. This particular way of making money is with fishing. As you can see, we are currently at the river. This is an early game accessible place, and there's Papa Bear doing some fishing. Now, this spot right over here, a lot of people can see this early on in the game, and they see that and they think to themselves, oh, well, it's fishing. What's the big deal? Well, actually, this is the most profitable place to make money in the early game, and I'll show you how. Now, the first thing you're going to need to make sure you have is, of course, your fishing pole and also plenty of bait. Caterpillars are easy to find. All you have to do is dig up the plant life in the area. Or, if you don't want to go through the bother of that, right over here at the farm store, you can purchase caterpillars. They're 8 gulls a piece, but considering the amount of profit you're about to make, don't worry too much about that price. You're going to make that money back very quickly. Now, of course, for the purposes of this video, I'm not going to be utilizing all of my stamina for this. After all, in the early game, chances are you're going to have somewhere between 250 and 300 stamina. So it's not reasonable for me to come here and fish the whole day away and use up all of my stamina doing nothing but fishing. That wouldn't be an accurate representation. So instead, I'm going to use up 300 of my stamina doing nothing but fishing today. And then by the end of it, you'll be able to see roughly how many fish I've caught and roughly the kind of profits you'll will have. So, without further ado, let's get started. Now, this isn't a fishing tutorial. This is just intended to show you the concept of the money-making scheme you're doing here. You want to be pulling in as many fish as possible in the amount of time that you have on any given day. But as you can see, just a short amount of fishing can net you some very profitable fish. These are the 3 types of fish you're going to be pulling in at this particular spot. The golden salmon, which are worth 30 apiece. Oh, hello. There we go. The emperor golden salmon, which are worth 60 apiece. And the Goliath, which is worth 350 apiece. Now, for early game, these fish can be very difficult to land. I'm at the end of my fishing for the day, and as you can see, I've used less than 300 stamina just to prove my point. And as you can also see, we've gathered quite a bit of fish in that amount of time. Just to give you a time reference, it's currently 1 o'clock, 1300. And we have managed to catch quite a solid haul of fish right here, as well as a little bit of junk. These rackets and rusty pipes are kind of part of the whole fishing experience. You can't really avoid it. However, we managed to catch a good solid 27 regular golden salmon, 9 emperor salmon, 6 Goliaths, and 2 emperor Goliaths. Now we're going to go ahead and get these sold off at the shops over here. The nice thing about fish is that pretty much any shop will buy fish. There aren't many, to my knowledge, there aren't really any shops at all that won't buy fish. However, forgive me if I'm incorrect about that, but to the best of my knowledge, all of the shops will buy fish. If not, and if I'm incorrect, please leave a comment below, and I'll try to correct it as best as I can. But let's go sell these fish and see what kind of profit we can make here. Now, the profits you're going to make on the fish are going to vary according to the market, of course, and also will depend on the skills you have. As you can see here, I took 5 levels of business mind so that I can sell my items for 10% more. So bear in mind that in the market here, anything that I sell is going to be marked up by 10%. So for example, normally the golden salmon would sell for 30, but because of my particular perk, I can sell it for 33. So the amount that you're going to be able to get will depend on your skills, but for our purposes here, the 10%, while it's going to make somewhat of a difference, won't make a huge difference if you don't currently have 5 levels of that perk. As you can see, the market price is currently at 101%, so this should give you a general baseline of exactly how much money you're going to be making. And I've used Polly because I've managed to build Polly up to a decent amount of gulls here that he has to purchase my fish. But bear in mind that your particular results may vary. And just like that, I went from 57,000 gulls to 62,000 gulls. I just made 5,000 gulls in one day. Now, a lot of people are going to look at that and they're going to think, wow, that's pretty amazing. But there's actually better ways to do it, and let me show you how. The next method I'm going to show you is quarrying. And what you're looking for here are a couple of different items. You want stone, you want marble, and you want topaz. Everything else that you get, of course, is very important to get and will add to your profits, but topaz, stone, and marble are your 3 biggest items. Now, in order to make this method truly productive, you're going to want to make sure you have plenty of stamina. Ensure that you have lots of food if you can. If not, you can get by without it, but it's much more effective if you have plenty of stamina. There are several places you're going to want to go and quarry. First of all, there's this strip right along the edge of the wall in Portia. Secondly, is this strip right along here. Thirdly, there are these rocks in the sewage plant ruins. Fourthly, there's the Amber Island strip. And lastly, once you have opened up the desert, there are more rocks over here. Now, this particular method, you're probably going to want to have the most upgraded pickaxe you can get. A bronze pickaxe will work, but you're going to use up a lot of stamina trying to get the same results. As well, you're going to have the same issue with iron. However, iron pickaxe is a lot better than the bronze pickaxe. For your best results, you're going to want the fisherman's pickaxe, which I'll show you right now. What you're going to do is try to find big rocks like this, and you're going to want to quarry them up. Now, that is an important distinction you should know about. There is a big difference between mining and quarrying. Mining is when you go into the abandoned ruins and dig through all the dirt and rock and various iron ore there, or, well, various ores there. This is quarrying, and quarrying is getting the rocks that are on the surface, not underground. Now, I like to keep my 3 items that I'm tracking down here on my toolbar. It allows me to be able to see just how well I'm doing in my collections. As well, you're going to be gaining sand, copper ore, bloodstone, and tin ore. All of these are very useful as well. It's not the primary thing you're looking for, but it's nice that you're gaining these additional things as well. Once you've completed the initial strip, you're going to want to hop onto the DD here. If you haven't gotten your DD stops set up yet, you should make that a priority, as they're very, very useful for shortening the amount of time you travel and for also getting you from place to place. If you don't have your DD stops set up, you're going to have to walk from all of these places, and that's going to slow you down considerably. You're going to take your DD stop here, and you're going to come over to Amber Island. Once you get to Amber Island, you're going to want to be able to get over this bridge quickly, because you're going to want to start quarrying everything on this island as quickly as possible. The nice thing about Amber Island is that it has crystal stones like this. If you're able to mine these, definitely do so. These crystals and occasionally power stones can come in really handy for building later. Once you've completed Amber Island, you're going to want to come back to the Dee stop. If you've opened up the desert, you can hop onto this Dee stop as well, and it'll shorten the trip to get to the next stones that are over here. The area for quarrying in the desert is right here. There's some up there, and there's some over here, and there's more to quarry over here as well. You're gonna want to do this fairly quickly because it's a bit of a walk to the next Dee stop. Once you've made it to the bridge Dee stop, you're gonna want to take this Dee over to here. This will allow you to do the quarrying in this area and take the strip all the way down to there. Bear in mind, you might be running out of time at this point, but if you're quick, you're going to do a lot better than I've done here. Bear in mind, I've been stopping to record, so if I were to do this without recording, I'd be a lot farther than I am right now. Again, you're going to want to quarry as much as possible, as quickly as possible, using up as little stamina as possible. Once you've completed this strip and you've gone all the way down to the end, you're going to want to hook around to the front of the sewage plant ruins right here. I believe this is called the Collapsed Wasteland, but there's nothing written on here that says Collapsed Wasteland, so you might not know what I'm talking about. So just call this the Sewage Plant Ruins for now. I'll meet you over at the front gate. This is the Collapsed Wasteland, and if you've already opened this area, you have access to a lot of really good stones. But also bear in mind that your stones that you're going to be quarrying are over there. There's none up at front here. You're going to want to come all the way over and skip all of these. You can quarry those up there. And you can quarry the ones down here. But all of these are down here are going to trap you somewhat. So be careful and manage your time properly. There are stones in this area and all along the edge. You're going to be wanting to quarry as... Whoop, I'm going to show you over here. You're going to want to quarry all of these and quarry all of these over here as well. And you're going to want to do this as quickly as possible, because by the time you get to this point, you're likely going to be running out of time. There's also going to be a lot of bad guys in this area, as this is something of a dangerous place to mine, which is also why it's the last. If you are confident in your combat abilities, you can certainly stay here and mine and quarry up these things and just kind of ignore these guys. But if you're uncertain about the amount of health and combat abilities that you have, you are definitely more than welcome to skip this area entirely. This actually has the least amount of quarrying to be done. You can come over here and quarry up this section down here as well. And quarry that final spot over here. It's a dangerous area, and you're certainly able to skip it if you wish. Now, to give you an idea of just how much you can make with this method, I'm going to be starting this day over, and I'm going to do as much as I can in a single day. And then once I'm done, I'll come back and I'll show you what we're going to do with all of that loot. Okay, so I spent an entire day of, good morning Phyllis, of going around and doing nothing but picking up stuff. We can get rid of that. But doing nothing but quarrying. I went around and quarried everywhere that I could within that route that I told you about. And as you can see, we collected quite a bit of items here. This is all very, very useful stuff and very profitable stuff. But I think the more important thing that we're going to get out of this is the crafting that we're going to do. First of all, the stone table. You're going to end up collecting a ton of stone and marble from this run that you just did. Looks like we can craft 148 a piece, and these sell for 32 a piece. Boom. Secondly, we have all these topazes. Now there's a couple of things you can do with this. You can sell them all individually, which individually they're worth 80 a piece, and that's pretty darn good. Or if you happen to have the stuff available, which in this case is wild cocoons, you can also craft these topazes into the yellow sapphire necklace. Now the yellow sapphire necklace requires you to have at least 2 hearts with Ginger, and she gives you this particular recipe. And getting wild cocoons is usually just a matter of running around and chopping really big trees, or kicking them. I usually prefer just chopping them. So let's go ahead and craft as many of these as we can. Since I only had 20 cocoons, I could only do 10. And it looks like I'm going to sell the rest. The talisman. You're bound to have an enormous amount of marble, and most likely wood, left over from your run. These sell at 16 apiece. 102. There you go. Then finally, we also have the stone stool. Now, if you happen to have any stone left over from building all those tables and such, you can turn whatever leftover stone you have into stone stools. In this particular case, I didn't have any left over. After I had made all of my tables, this was all I had left. The rest of these items do have their use. Certainly you can take the time and turn all of this copper ore into bars. It takes a lot of time, but turning all of these into copper and tin and ore together into bronze, you could smelt a lot of different things with these items and make a lot of money. However, if you just need it quick, you can sell these individually at 1 apiece. The iron ore as well, and we're going to be doing that. If you went to the desert, you're likely to have quarried up some sulfate. And also, if you went to Amber Island, you're likely to have gotten crystal as well. You can combine these two and create jewelry boxes for even more profit. There's also an alternate you could use your stone for, and that's to create industrial core. Now this of course would require a lot of resin, which a lot of people don't have a lot of, especially early on. But if you happen to have a great deal of resin, and you still have a ton of stone left over from your quarrying, bloodstones plus the stone plus the resin makes for a tidy profit right here as well. In this particular case, we used up all of our stone, however, and for the purposes of this particular video, I didn't want to use the resin I already had, since that's not representative of what we're trying to do here. In the same vein, if you happen to have charcoal available, you can convert the sulfate and niter that you had gotten from the desert and turn that into gunpowder as well. But again, since charcoal wasn't part of this particular run, I've left this out. Now that we're here, let's see what we can come up with. I'm going to go ahead and sell as much of this stuff as possible. Typically I like to hold on to my raw materials, but I'm going to sell them all just to give you an idea of what it is you can get here. And of course we'll start with Polly, since he tends to have the largest amount. He also tends to be able to buy most of this stuff, even though you'll have to sell these to others. Just those gives us 5,000. And then let's sell the rest. Oop. Made a little boo-boo there. And the rest over to Total Tools. Alright, and we've sold off the remainder. And as you can see, we went from 19,000 to 33,000. Again, it's a very profitable run. We're talking about, in this particular case, 14,000 gulls. And this can fluctuate depending on what you manage to pull and just how much you're able to craft. And again, this takes up the entire day, and you're going to use up all your energy and most likely have to dig into your reserves here. As you can see, I originally started with 15 of these dried apple slices, and I had to dig into several of them. I didn't use my royal honey, though. That I just kept put away. I figured I didn't need it. Alright, so without further ado, let's go on to the next method of making gulls. The next trick is more of a late game than an early or mid-game tactic, but it is very profitable if you take the time and do it right. Now, this isn't something you're going to do quickly, but it is something that you're going to want to do anyway, because it yields a lot of minerals that you're going to want to use for late game. So here we go. For this trick, you're going to want to hop on the DD transport again, and head over to this particular DD transport. If you haven't opened this up yet, you can take your horse or run your way over here. Time isn't that tight for this particular run. In this particular case, you want thoroughness rather than speed. And let's head over to here. This lift here is something that you're going to end up having to build in the late game in order to access this next area. In this entire area, there is a large number of rocks called igneous rocks. I personally like to start with this particular group over here, but you can start wherever you want. You're going to travel this entire section of the land. This is the kind of rock we're looking for. You're going to need a very powerful pickaxe to be able to mine this up, as it's extremely strong rock. This is called igneous rock and zeolite. You can also get other gems from this as well, but that's primarily the two things you're going to pull from this type of ore. You're going to want to quarry up every single rock that you can reach on this plateau. I'm going to go ahead and do this, and then I'll start the video again. Be right back. Don't forget to get these rocks over here. A lot of people overlook them. It's right here on your map. By the end of your trip, you're likely going to have roughly about this amount of igneous rock and zeolite. This can vary, of course, depending on what you have selected for your skills. Advanced mining helps in both this tip and the last tip I spoke to you about. What we're going to do with this particular igneous rock is come over to here, and as you can see, I already had igneous brick being made. You're going to want to be able to make every single one of these into igneous bricks. All of them. You don't want to spare any, because these are worth a lot of money. As you can see, by clicking on a single one, they're worth 180 apiece. Now you can do this every day, and this racks up. Now, you can sell the base ore, but honestly, that's a waste. You can easily make plenty of bricks, and each brick costs 5 rocks. Since it takes 5 rocks, which would be a total of 40, to convert it into something worth 180, it's worthwhile to take the time and let these just do their thing. Now, what can you do with the zeolite? Well, concrete. Again, you're going to need to use other things. You're going to need soil and resin in order to make concrete. But in late game, concrete becomes a very important building material, and you're going to want to hoard this as much as possible. Zeolite, you'll be surprised at how fast you'll burn through it. And of course, resin, you'll also want to make sure you've got that cooking as much as possible, because the more you have, the more concrete you can make. But again, we'll always be running up against the zeolite wall. So don't sell that zeolite. Save it. It'll make you a lot happier in the long run, just to make sure that you have your concrete available for later. I wouldn't sell the concrete if I were you, but if you're desperate for money, concrete doesn't sell too bad, about 60 a piece. Let's go ahead and move on to the next of our hints for how to make more galls. The next trick I'm going to show you isn't so much a trick as it is just some good things to build that will sell well, and they're fairly easy to make. So let's come over to here and let's check out what we have. For early to mid-game profits, conductive wooden flooring is pretty easy to use, pretty easy to make, and it doesn't take much in the way of resources. Hardwood, you're going to get a great deal of, and all you have to do is throw it onto one of your cutters, and you'll make hardwood consistently. Copper wire is the same thing. You're going to get copper bars like crazy simply from the mining you do. You're going to need copper for a lot of reasons. And wire is simply a matter of putting it on your grinders. Get the grinders going here, and you'll have copper wire coming out of your ears. It is a fairly slow process. Wire takes an hour, and the hardwood planks, well, hardwood planks take about, well, actually it says 5.5 hours. That's because I'm not doing it. But it takes roughly about an hour and 15 minutes per. So this isn't a fast profit. This is more long-term, ongoing profits. It'll be able to get you a steady income rather than quick income that's going to take your entire day to do. And let's face it, you need to use your time for other reasons than just trying to quarry a bunch of things to sell. You need to be able to use your machines to work for you. By having your machines constantly making the hardwood planks and these wires, you're not having to run around and quarry up a bunch of stuff for you to sell later. These things can be running in the background for 128 a piece. This is consistent profit, and more importantly, profit that's not going to take a ton of your time. Finally, there is one other thing that I want to show you, and it's the last and probably the most commonly used way to be able to make galls. A lot of people have discovered that lead is very quick to make and doesn't have a lot of use. You can actually smelt up a lot of lead very quickly, and the only real use for it in the game as of this recording is to make the venom shot, or excuse me, the venom dart ammunition for your snakebite gun. And there really isn't much else use for it. So what else can you do with it but take it in to get it sold? Let's head back over to Polly and let's see what he'll give us for 200 bars. Now, lead ore, you're going to get that from mining in abandoned ruins 2 and 3. In other words, this one here, while you're trying to mine your iron, and this one over here, which you're going to be, this one here, which you're going to be mining in order to get your magnesium and your higher end metals. You're going to end up picking up a lot of lead ore anyway. It smelts very quickly, and as you're about to see, it sells for 42 a piece. 200 bars. Believe it or not, guys, that 200 bars was smelted overnight. It smelts incredibly easy, and it sells reasonably well. This will be 840 galls, again, right into my pocket. It was just lead that I picked up as I was doing iron ore anyway, so you may as well put that lead to good use and get some profit out of it. I'll grant you, it's probably not the biggest profit you'll do, but it's easy profit and it's quick profit. Since there's no other reason for you to use lead, you may as well use it for this. And that's going to do it. That's all the ways that I know of to make fast and consistent galls in my time at Portia. I hope you all have enjoyed the video, and if you have, please do the whole liking and subscribing and the sharing of the videos. You guys are the best fans in the world. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, everyone, always remember that anyone can be a mouse that roars, but it takes someone special to be a lion that squeaks. So embrace your inner lion and squeak on, and go get rich.